When life hurts, stay calm. When everything falls apart, stay focused. When pain knocks, do not explain, transform. Most people react. They complain. They beg for understanding. They waste strength, trying to be seen. But not you. You rise in silence. You build without noise. You let pain shape discipline. Stop explaining your pain. Stop performing your strength. The world does not listen to excuses, it respects results. Every scar carries a message. Every struggle carries a seed. If you stop reacting and start rebuilding, you grow stronger than ever before. You do not need approval. You need focus. You do not need noise. You need control. Silence is not weakness. It is precision. It is power. It is how the calm conquer chaos. This audiobook will teach you how to turn pain into purpose, how to build peace inside pressure, and how to use every scar as strength. So listen closely, breathe slowly, and let these words enter your mind. Welcome to Book Verse, a place where pain becomes wisdom, where silence becomes strength, and where you rise quietly. Subscribe now, because here we do not escape pain, we master it. This is Turn Your Pain into Power, quietly. Chapter 1. Stop explaining. Start evolving. Every time you explain your struggle, you lose strength. Every time you justify your pain, you waste energy. You want people to understand you, but they never will, not fully. Because no one can feel what you feel. No one carries your weight the way you do. You think if they knew your story, they would respect you. But the truth is simple, they do not care about your reasons. The world listens to results, not explanations. The world values progress, not excuses. Stop explaining your pain. Start evolving through it. Stop proving your worth. Start becoming it. You do not need to convince anyone that you are strong. You prove it by standing tall when no one claps. You prove it by moving forward when no one believes. That is real power. That is quiet strength. You have been through things that broke you. You have fought battles no one saw. You have survived days you never spoke about. That silence is not weakness. That silence is evolution. You are not here to perform your pain. You are here to transform it. Every scar is a symbol of survival. Every loss is a lesson in control. Every setback is a signal, not an ending. You have a choice. You can explain, or you can evolve. You can talk about the wound, or you can heal it. You cannot do both. When you explain your pain, you reopen it. When you evolve from it, you release it. That is the key. Stop repeating what broke you. Start rewriting what builds you. Silence is your weapon. It protects you from pity. It saves you from distraction. It keeps your energy pure. Because when you stay silent, you listen to yourself. And when you listen, you grow. You do not need their validation. You need your focus. You do not need sympathy. You need strategy. You do not need noise. You need control. The strong do not explain their pain. They channel it. They do not talk about discipline. They live it. They do not show their plans. They execute them, quietly. Every time you explain yourself, you hand away your power. You give others control over your story. You let them decide what your pain means. Never again. Your pain is your responsibility. Your progress is your proof. Your silence is your message. You owe no one an explanation. Think about it. When was the last time explaining your pain fixed it? When did defending your choices make you stronger? It never did. Because strength is built in movement, not discussion. Power is built in focus, not approval. So, stop waiting for understanding. Stop chasing validation. Stop explaining yourself to those who have already judged you. They are not your audience. Your growth is. Your purpose is. Your peace is. You have a choice. You can stay where you are, talking about the past. Or you can walk forward, building the future. That is the real difference between the broken and the rising. One explains. The other evolves. The world is full of people who talk. Few listen. Fewer act. And only a handful transform. Be one of them. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them talk. You just keep building. You just keep moving. You just keep rising, quietly. Because silence does not mean surrender. It means self-mastery. It means emotional control. It means you are done wasting energy on explanation. Now, you are using that energy for evolution. Every time you stay silent instead of explaining, you are training your mind. You are teaching your emotions to obey your vision. You are practicing control. And control is power. You are not here to explain your purpose. You are here to embody it. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to live it. Stop explaining. Start evolving. Stop talking about change. Start becoming change. Your pain is not your identity. It is your instruction. It is the message that teaches you how to rise. Listen to it. Learn from it. Then move on from it, quietly. You are not a victim. You are not broken. You are rebuilding. That is the truth. And you do not need to explain that truth to anyone. When you evolve quietly, you confuse those who expected you to fail. You silence those who mocked your fall. You rise in ways they never imagined. That is the beauty of quiet power. You do not need the world to clap for you. You only need to keep going. Because when you stop explaining, you stop delaying your growth. When you stop explaining, you stop leaking your strength. When you stop explaining, you start evolving. This is not about ego. It is about energy. Protect it. Guard it. Use it wisely. Every day, remind yourself. I evolve quietly. I prove nothing. Say it until it becomes who you are. Say it until silence feels natural. Say it until explanation feels unnecessary. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself progress. You owe yourself discipline, not explanations. So from this moment, speak less about your pain. Build more from it. Speak less about your struggle. Learn more from it. That is evolution. That is strength. That is freedom. You mastered silence. Now, it is time to master your direction. Because silence without purpose is just stillness. But silence with focus becomes power. Now, let us move deeper. Let us talk about the next level of strength. Chapter 2. Pain is a teacher, not a punishment. Pain is not your enemy. It is your instructor. It does not destroy you. It shapes you. It carves discipline into your soul. It breaks your ego, so truth can enter. You think pain is unfair. You think pain means failure. But pain is not against you, it is guiding you. Every time life hurts, it is teaching you something you refuse to learn in peace. That is the key. Pain comes when comfort fails to teach. You have a choice. You can suffer blindly, or you can study your suffering. You can react, or you can reflect. One keeps you stuck. The other makes you strong. Pain shows up when your path is wrong. It shows up when your focus is weak. It shows up when your heart needs cleansing. Do not fight it. Listen to it. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Maybe it is teaching you patience. Maybe it is teaching you self-respect. Maybe it is teaching you control. Every lesson is hidden inside the discomfort. That is why the strongest people never curse pain. They study it. They extract wisdom from it. You think success feels good. But success begins in pain. Muscles grow through pressure. Confidence grows through rejection. Peace grows through storms. That is the rule of life. There is no growth without friction. Stop asking, why me? Start asking, what now? Because every why keeps you in the past. And every what now moves you toward the future. That is how pain transforms you. Pain is a mirror. It shows you what you ignore. It reveals your weak spots. It highlights your patterns. It shows you where your boundaries are missing. It is not punishing you, it is protecting you from repeating mistakes. The truth is simple. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. You cannot learn what you refuse to face. Pain forces you to stop running. It forces you to sit and see yourself. You have a choice. You can escape it with noise, or understand it with silence. You can drown it with distraction, or face it with awareness. The strong choose awareness. The weak choose avoidance. You do not need to fear pain. You need to use it. You need to study it. You need to turn it into clarity. Take time to reflect. Take time to write your thoughts. Take time to sit alone, without a phone, without distraction. Because solitude is not loneliness. It is the classroom of pain. That is where pain speaks clearly. When you sit in silence, pain starts talking. It says, you ignored your boundaries. It says, you stayed where love was gone. It says, you gave too much to those who gave nothing. Listen to that voice. That voice is truth. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. It tells you what needs to change. It tells you who you have become. And it tells you who you are meant to be next. You have been taught to avoid pain. But running from pain only extends it. The more you avoid it, the more it follows you. The moment you face it, it starts to fade. Because pain loses power when you learn from it. You do not need to escape it. You need to decode it. Every pain carries information. Information about your choices. Information about your beliefs. Information about your limits. And when you read that message, you evolve. Think about it. When did you grow the most in life? Not when things were easy, but when things were hard. When you were broken. When you were scared. When you had to start again. That pain built you. That pain grew your strength. You have a choice. You can treat pain as punishment, or you can treat it as practice. One drains you. The other trains you. Pain is not the end of your journey. It is the test before your next level. It checks your patience. It checks your discipline. It checks your faith. Pass the test, and the door opens. You say you want strength. But strength is not given. It is earned, through pain. You say you want peace. But peace is not found. It is built, through understanding pain. The people who avoid pain stay the same. The people who face pain evolve. That is the law. You cannot rise without falling first. You cannot heal without hurting first. So stop running. Stop covering your pain with fake smiles. Stop hiding behind distractions. Face it. Study it. Transform it. You have been through heartbreak. You have been through loss. You have been through betrayal. But every one of those moments taught you something valuable. It taught you who you are. It taught you what matters. It taught you what never to repeat. That is how pain refines you. Pain is feedback. It tells you when to move. It tells you when to let go. It tells you when you are growing. Without that feedback, you stay lost. So when you feel pain, do not react. Observe. Take a deep breath. Ask questions. What is this showing me? What boundary did I cross? What truth am I avoiding? Because answers live inside those questions. That is the secret. Pain does not arrive to break you. It arrives to break your illusion. It removes what is false, so that only truth can remain. You have a choice. You can keep seeing pain as punishment, or you can see it as preparation. Preparation for your next chapter. Preparation for your next level. You are not being punished. You are being polished. Life is shaping you into something stronger. It is removing what is weak. It is removing what is fake. That is not cruelty. That is care in disguise. Remember this. The fire that burns the wood also strengthens the steel. You are that steel. You are not melting. You are hardening. You are learning how to stand. So next time pain comes, welcome it. Say, teach me. Say, show me. Say, grow me. Because when you accept the lesson, the pain starts losing its power. You have carried pain long enough. Now, carry the wisdom it gave you. Stop resenting the storm. Start respecting the lesson. Pain has already done its job. Now, it is your turn to apply what it taught. You mastered silence. Now, you are learning awareness. Because silence without awareness is numbness. But silence with awareness becomes transformation. You have learned how to stop explaining. Now, you have learned how to study your pain. That is the beginning of true control. In the next chapter, we go deeper. Because once you understand pain, you must learn how to focus through it. You must learn how to build discipline inside chaos. So listen closely. You are about to enter the next stage of power. Chapter 3. Discipline over drama. When pain hits, most people explode. They talk too much. They complain too loud. They search for someone to blame. They look for sympathy instead of strength. That is drama. And drama keeps you stuck. It keeps you spinning in the same storm. You think you are releasing your pain, but you are feeding it. You are giving it more power, more attention, more life. Power does not grow in drama. Power grows in discipline. When pain hits, discipline must take over. Routine, repetition, responsibility. That is where control begins. You have a choice. You can choose emotion, or you can choose order. You can choose noise, or you can choose calm. That is the key. Control the controllable. You cannot control people. You cannot control the past. You cannot control what others think. But you can control your focus. You can control your words. You can control your response. That is real power. Most people think power means shouting louder. They think it means fighting back. But true power means staying calm when chaos rises. It means choosing structure over stress. It means saying, I will not break my focus for foolishness. Drama drains you. It steals your time. It steals your peace. It keeps you tired, distracted, reactive. And that is exactly how weak people live. They live in constant reaction. Always explaining. Always defending. Always wasting energy on things that do not move them forward. But discipline builds you. It sharpens your mind. It builds emotional muscle. It makes you unshakable. It turns pain into progress. Every time you want to complain, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, can I control this? If yes, act with focus. If no, walk away. That is control. That is clarity. That is discipline. Control the controllable. Repeat that again and again. Control the controllable. Because most pain in life comes from trying to control what never belonged to you. People's opinions, outcomes, timing, approval. Let it go. You do not need their permission. You need your routine. Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. It protects you from chaos. It protects you from regret. It protects you from wasting your potential. Wake up early. Move your body. Plan your day. Do the small things with focus. That is how you take back power. That is how you stay calm when others lose control. Most people live by mood. You must live by mission. That is the difference between the distracted and the disciplined. Drama follows emotion. Discipline follows purpose. You say you want peace. But peace is not a gift. Peace is a result. It is the result of routine. It is the result of choosing calm over chaos. It is the result of building habits that protect your energy. Control the controllable. Say it again. Control the controllable. Because life will test you again and again. People will trigger you. Situations will shake you. And when they do, your reaction will decide your reality. You have a choice. React or respond. React with drama, and you lose control. Respond with discipline, and you build it. That is the secret difference between the emotional and the powerful. Discipline is not cold. It is clear. It does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feelings lead. You feel, then you focus. You breathe, then you act. When you live with discipline, you stop chasing comfort. You start chasing control. You stop asking, why is this happening? You start saying, what can I do next? That one shift changes your life. Control the controllable. Because when you focus on what you can do, your energy returns. Your confidence grows. Your peace rebuilds. Drama feeds ego. Discipline feeds growth. Drama needs attention. Discipline needs consistency. Drama is loud. Discipline is quiet. Drama burns out. Discipline compounds. Think about it. Every winner you admire has one thing in common. They chose discipline, not emotion. They worked when it was hard. They stayed silent when others talked. They moved with purpose, not panic. That is why they win. That is why they last. You have to train your focus like a muscle. You have to practice stillness when everything shakes. You have to repeat your routine, even when it feels boring. That is where greatness grows, in repetition, not in reaction. You have a choice every morning. Start with noise or start with order. If you wake up scrolling, you lose focus before the day begins. If you wake up planning, you take charge before chaos starts. Control the controllable. Because if you do not control your time, someone else will. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being prepared. It is about staying steady, even when life hits hard. You cannot stop the storm, but you can anchor yourself. That is control. Stop waiting to feel ready. Feelings are unreliable. They change like weather. Discipline does not wait. It decides. It moves. It acts. You must train yourself to move even when it hurts. To show up even when no one claps. To keep going even when no one believes. Because that is when your power multiplies. You have a choice. Drama is comfort. Discipline is control. Drama gives you pity. Discipline gives you pride. Drama gets attention. Discipline earns respect. Choose respect. Choose control. You say you want to change your life. Then change your habits. Stop chasing excitement. Start mastering consistency. Because excitement fades fast. But consistency builds results. Control the controllable. That is your anchor. That is your focus. That is your freedom. When you focus on what you can control, you stop wasting energy on what you cannot. You stop fighting shadows. You stop draining yourself. You stop feeding drama. Discipline is silent power. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you unstoppable. Because people cannot shake you when you are structured. They cannot distract you when you are focused. They cannot drain you when your emotions are mastered. That is why the strong stay calm. They know control beats chaos. They know reaction kills results. They know drama belongs to the weak. So build your system. Build your habits. Wake up on time. Stick to your plan. Do your work. Rest with intention. Speak less. Focus more. That is the formula. Simple but rare. You have a choice. Every day, you choose between your emotions and your mission. Every day, you choose between wasting energy or building momentum. And every day, your choices shape your reality. Control the controllable. Say it again. Control the controllable. That one truth will save you from stress. It will keep you centered when others lose balance. It will help you move with precision while others react with panic. You are not built for drama. You are built for direction. You are not here to argue. You are here to act. You are not made for chaos. You are made for control. You are the calm in the storm. You are the order in the noise. You are the proof that focus beats feeling. And discipline beats drama. Remember this. Pain will test your patience. Life will test your focus. People will test your peace. But you must keep repeating the mantra. Control the controllable. Because when you master that one lesson, no situation can break you. No chaos can shake you. No emotion can rule you. That is the mindset of mastery. That is the foundation of strength. That is how you turn pain into power, quietly. You have faced your pain. You have built your focus. Now, it is time to build endurance. Because real control is not proven in one day. It is proven through time. You mastered discipline over drama. Now, let us talk about what keeps that discipline alive: consistency. Absolutely. Here's the full 1,400-word TTS-optimized script for your audiobook, written in your established direct, tough-love motivational tone, using short sentences, simple vocabulary, and clear punctuation throughout. It strictly follows your format and pacing requirements. Chapter 4. Stop seeking validation. You do not need permission to heal. You do not need applause to rebuild. You do not need anyone to clap for your comeback. Validation is the slowest poison. It looks sweet, but it kills your strength. It makes you forget who you are. It turns your mission into a performance. You wake up thinking, will they notice me? You post, you speak, you work. But deep inside, you wait for approval. You wait for a nod, a comment, a like. That waiting is the reason your growth is slow. That waiting is the reason your confidence dies. Listen carefully. You do not need their eyes. You need your vision. You do not need their applause. You need your discipline. You have a choice: to build quietly or to beg loudly. You can either create or you can perform. You cannot do both. The world is full of noise. Everyone wants attention. Everyone is screaming, "Look at me." But power does not come from noise. Power comes from direction, from purpose, from inner calm. That is the key. When you stop seeking validation, you start gaining control. Control over your time. Control over your focus. Control over your emotions. Validation makes you weak. It teaches you to depend. Depend on others for self-worth. Depend on others for happiness. Depend on others for peace. But dependence is the opposite of power. You cannot lead yourself if you are waiting to be liked. Here is the truth. Most people are too busy trying to prove something to people who are not even watching. You post for them. You work for them. You dress for them. You live for them. But they do not care. They are too busy doing the same thing for someone else. This is the cycle of weakness. You seek attention. You feel empty. You seek again and again until your whole identity becomes a reaction. That is why validation is dangerous. It steals your direction. It replaces purpose with performance. You say you want success, but what you really want is to be seen as successful. You say you want peace, but what you really want is for others to say you look peaceful. That is the trap. You build your worth on opinion, and opinion changes every minute. One day they love you. The next they forget you. If your self-esteem rises and falls with every comment, you are not living. You are performing. Stop performing. Start living. Start leading. Start focusing on what matters. It is not about how it looks. It is about how it feels. It is not about who notices. It is about who you become. Ask yourself every morning, who will I become today? Not, who will notice me today? That single shift will change your life. You do not need to announce your progress. You do not need to share your every move. You do not need to prove anything. Your growth is not a public event. Your healing is not a performance. It is private. It is sacred. It is yours. When you start building in silence, your results start speaking louder. When you stop explaining yourself, your presence becomes enough. When you stop chasing applause, your peace grows stronger. You have a choice: to live for claps, or to live for clarity, to live for views, or to live for vision. That is the difference between the strong and the weak. The weak need to be seen. The strong need to become. The weak wait for permission. The strong give themselves permission. So, give yourself permission to rest, to rebuild, to rise again. You do not need anyone to say go. You are already allowed. You are already ready. Stop asking for approval from people who have never built anything. Stop asking for advice from people who do not understand your dream. Stop looking for validation from people who do not even validate themselves. You are not here to please. You are here to grow. You are not here to impress. You are here to improve. Do not confuse love with likes. Do not confuse progress with praise. Do not confuse visibility with value. You do not need to show your worth. You need to live your worth. When you start living from purpose, you start shining differently. Your peace becomes louder than your posts. Your focus becomes your weapon. It is not about being seen. It is about being solid. It is not about being perfect. It is about being present. You have been taught to perform, taught to post every win, taught to explain every loss. But real power lives in mystery. Real power moves quietly. Real power does not need to prove. Discipline is silent. Validation is loud. Choose silence. Choose focus. Choose the path of strength. You will lose people. Yes, you will. When you stop seeking validation, some will leave, because your silence will confuse them. Your confidence will threaten them. But let them go. The ones who need you to stay small are not your people. The ones who clap only when you are beneath them are not your friends. The ones who disappear when you rise were never with you. Let them go. You do not need them to believe in you. You need to believe in you. That is the real shift. When your self-belief becomes louder than your need for attention, when your purpose becomes stronger than your hunger for approval, then you become free. Free from opinions. Free from pressure. Free from noise. That is freedom. That is peace. You do not need to announce it. You will feel it. You will know it. You will live it. Every time you choose progress over attention, you grow stronger. Every time you stay quiet and work, you grow wiser. Every time you keep moving without approval, you build power. That is the game. You do not play for the crowd. You play for your purpose. And that purpose does not need validation. It needs vision. It needs patience. It needs you. Remember this line. Validation is noise. Discipline is peace. You have a choice. Choose peace. Choose power. Choose silence. Stop performing for the crowd. Start performing for your calling. Stop chasing likes. Start chasing growth. Your value does not need to be proven. It needs to be lived. You are enough. Even when no one says it. Even when no one sees it. Even when no one claps for it. You are still enough. And that is the truth you must hold. You have nothing to prove. You have everything to become. So stand tall. Stay focused. Stay grounded. Stay quiet. And build. Because when you build in silence, your success will make all the noise you need. You mastered validation. You took your power back. Now, let us move deeper. You learned not to chase eyes. Now, it is time to learn how to chase excellence. Chapter 5. Build rituals, not reactions. When life hurts, structure saves. When emotions rise, discipline protects. When everything feels uncertain, routine becomes your anchor. You cannot control everything, but you can control what you do each day. And that control is where your strength begins. Rituals rebuild identity. Reactions destroy it. That is the truth. When you react, you lose direction. You act from impulse, not from purpose. You let the world decide how you feel, how you move, how you think. But when you build rituals, you decide first. You take charge before the day begins. You move with purpose, not emotion. You build, instead of breaking. You have a choice. You can live by reaction, or you can live by ritual. Most people live in reaction. They wake up late. They scroll. They rush. They complain. Their first hour is chaos, and chaos becomes their identity. Then they say, "My life feels out of control." Of course it does, because you start every day by surrendering your control. That is the truth. Your morning decides your direction. Your structure decides your success. Your rituals decide your reality. It is not about motivation. It is about motion. It is not about feeling ready. It is about being steady. Discipline does not care how you feel. It cares what you do. The secret is not doing more. It is doing what matters. Every single day. That is the key. So build rituals that hold you, that ground you, that guide you when emotions lie. Wake up early. Sit in silence. Write your thoughts. Move your body. Plan your day. Do one hard thing before sunrise. That single act will shift your mindset for the whole day, because every ritual tells your brain who you are. When you keep your promise to yourself, you start trusting yourself again. That is how confidence is built. Not through words, through consistent action, through repetition, through ritual. Reactions drain you. Rituals build you. Reactions create chaos. Rituals create clarity. Every time you react, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you stick to your ritual, you rebuild that piece. That is how transformation happens. Slow, steady, silent. You do not need to do big things. You need to do small things. Every day, without fail. 5 minutes of focus beats 1 hour of distraction. 10 minutes of stillness beats a whole day of chaos. It is not about doing more. It is about doing right. That is discipline. That is mastery. When life hits hard, you cannot think straight. Your emotions take over. You react fast. You say what you regret. You do what you should not. You feel lost. That is the trap of reaction. But if you have rituals, they catch you. They guide you back. They remind you who you are. They remind you what matters. Rituals are not routines for productivity. They are weapons for stability. The world will not stop testing you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. You will face pressure. You will face pain. And in those moments, you will need something solid. Not a feeling. Not motivation. Structure. That is what saves you. Structure. Routine. Ritual. When you wake up and feel heavy, you move anyway. When your mind says stop, you breathe anyway. When you feel lost, you follow your plan anyway. That is power. That is maturity. That is control. Most people say, "I will start when I feel ready." But feelings lie. Structure tells the truth. So stop waiting for motivation. Start building consistency. Start building rituals that do not depend on mood. Because one day, you will wake up tired. You will feel lost. You will doubt yourself. And your rituals will be the only thing that keeps you moving. They will remind you. You have been here before. You have survived worse. You can keep going. That is why you must build them now. You have a choice. To build stability before the storm, or to panic during it. Strong people prepare. Weak people react. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be prepared. Rituals are not about perfection. They are about grounding. They keep you steady when emotions try to shake you. Every ritual is a signal to your brain. I am in control. I am focused. I am strong. You need that reminder every day. Create your morning ritual. A ritual of silence. A ritual of gratitude. A ritual of movement. A ritual of focus. Do it daily. No excuses. No delays. Then create your evening ritual. A ritual of reflection. A ritual of release. A ritual of rest. You start strong. You end calm. That is balance. You control how your day starts. You control how it ends. Everything in between becomes easier to handle. That is the power of structure. It reduces stress. It protects focus. It builds momentum. When you live without structure, you live in confusion. You react to everything. You follow everyone. You go nowhere. But when you live with ritual, you move with clarity. You stay centered. You build something real. It is not about being busy. It is about being balanced. It is not about perfection. It is about presence. That is what rituals teach you. Presence. When you sit in silence, you face your thoughts. When you write, you meet your truth. When you move your body, you release your pain. When you pray, you connect with peace. These are not just habits. These are anchors. They keep you grounded in chaos. You will notice something. When you have rituals, you react less. You speak less. You worry less. Because you are no longer controlled by noise. You are guided by rhythm. That is mastery. That is control. You have a choice. To live from chaos, or to live from clarity. Rituals are how you choose clarity. Start small. But start today. Choose one ritual. Keep it simple. Keep it consistent. 5 minutes of stillness. 10 minutes of movement. 15 minutes of deep work. Do it daily. Because consistency builds confidence. And confidence builds calm. That calm will change how you live, how you speak, how you respond. Rituals make you steady in storms. They make you patient in pain. They make you powerful in silence. You do not need to be the loudest. You need to be the most grounded. You do not need to prove anything. You need to practice everything. Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. Protection from chaos. Protection from emotion. Protection from weakness. That is why rituals matter. You can scroll, or you can stretch. You can complain, or you can plan. You can react, or you can rebuild. Every choice builds a habit. Every habit builds a future. If you live by emotion, your future will be unstable. If you live by ritual, your future will be unshakable. That is the truth. And that is your test. You do not rise by accident. You rise by alignment. You rise by intention. You rise by ritual. So start today. Create structure before life forces it on you. Build peace before chaos finds you. Because when life hits hard, you will not have time to think. You will fall back to your level of structure, not your level of desire. That is why structure is power. Build your rituals. Defend your routines. Honor your discipline. That is how you rebuild identity. That is how you find peace again. You have a choice. To live by reaction, or to live by ritual. Choose ritual. Choose stability. Choose growth. When life hurts, structure saves. When emotions rise, discipline protects. When everything feels uncertain, routine becomes your anchor. You mastered validation. You mastered silence. Now it is time to master rhythm. Because once your mind is steady, your world will follow. You built discipline. Now, let us build connection. Chapter 6. Emotional control is real power. Emotional control is not weakness. It is power. It is precision. It is how calm people win loud battles. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are your signals. They are teachers in disguise. Anger shows where you care. Fear shows where you need courage. Sadness shows where you need healing. But when you let emotion lead, it destroys your direction. It makes you impulsive. It makes you blind. You lose logic. You lose rhythm. You lose yourself. The key is not to suppress emotion. The key is to process emotion, to feel it, to understand it, to release it, without letting it rule you. That is real control. That is emotional intelligence. Most people think power is loud. They think control means dominance. But the strongest people stay calm under pressure. They stay centered when chaos rises. They stay silent when provoked. Because calm minds always see more, always think clearer, always act wiser. That is the truth. That is the difference. The weak react fast. The strong respond slow. Reaction is emotional noise. Response is emotional mastery. Every time you pause before reacting, you build strength. Every time you breathe before replying, you build peace. Every time you stay calm when tested, you build control. That is power. That is the kind of power no one can take from you. You have a choice. You can be emotional, or you can be effective. You can be reactive, or you can be real. It is not about feeling nothing. It is about feeling everything, and still choosing stability. You cannot fight emotion with emotion. You fight it with awareness. You fight it with stillness. You fight it with control. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Stay dangerous. That is your new mantra. Because calm is not comfort. Calm is control. Calm is confidence. Calm is strength under silence. You do not win by shouting. You win by standing steady. When someone provokes you, pause. When someone insults you, observe. When something fails, breathe. Your silence is not weakness. Your patience is not fear. Your calm is strategy. Every outburst costs you energy. Every overreaction takes your focus. Every emotional storm blinds your vision. And when you lose vision, you lose direction. That is how most people fail. They react fast. They regret faster. They lose control. Then call it fate. But it was never fate. It was emotion. Control emotion. And you control your life. It starts with awareness. Notice your triggers. What makes you angry? What makes you feel small? What breaks your peace? Write them down. Study them. Face them. Because awareness is the first step to mastery. You cannot fix what you will not face. Then build habits that calm you. Breathe before speaking. Walk before reacting. Reflect before replying. Silence is medicine. Movement is release. Reflection is healing. You do not need to shout. You need to see. You do not need to react. You need to respond. That is the difference between chaos and clarity. Emotions are like waves. You cannot stop them. But you can learn to surf them. You can learn to stay balanced. You can learn to float above the noise. That is emotional control. It is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is not about always being calm. It is about returning to calm. Faster than before. That is mastery. That is growth. When you lose control once, learn from it. When you lose control twice, build a system. When you lose control again, reflect deeper. Every mistake is feedback. Every reaction is a mirror. Your anger reveals your attachment. Your jealousy reveals your insecurity. Your sadness reveals your resistance. Listen. Learn. Adjust. That is how warriors train. That is how calm minds grow. You have a choice. Every moment. To feed your fire. Or to cool your mind. The calm mind always wins the long game. Always. It is not about suppressing your truth. It is about delivering it with clarity. You can speak your truth calmly. You can lead with quiet confidence. You can hold your ground without raising your voice. That is power. That is dominance through discipline. People who cannot control emotion are controlled by everyone who can trigger it. Remember that. The one who can make you angry owns you. The one who can make you overreact. Controls you. So what do? You train your calm. Every day. When someone argues, you breathe. When someone lies, you observe. When someone betrays you, you stay centered. Because your energy is too expensive for drama. Your focus is too valuable for reaction. That is what emotional control means. It means you refuse to give your peace to people who have not earned your presence. You can walk away. You can stay quiet. You can protect your peace without needing to explain why. You do not owe anyone your reaction. You owe yourself your respect. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Stay dangerous. Because the calm person always looks unbothered. But inside, they are working. They are building. They are evolving. Their silence is their shield. Their calm is their advantage. People will test you. Life will test you. Pain will test you. But if you can stay composed, you win. Every time you stay calm in chaos, you gain control. Every time you stay silent in provocation, you grow stronger. That is how you rise above emotional noise. That is how you become unshakable. Because calm people are not passive. They are powerful. They are measured. They are focused. They do not rush to speak. They study first. They move last. And when they move with precision. That is how leaders think. That is how masters act. Emotional control is self-control. Self-control is freedom. Freedom from impulse. Freedom from drama. Freedom from noise. When you master emotion, you master energy. When you master energy, you master outcomes. The world runs on reaction, but you are learning to run on rhythm. The world gets triggered, but you are learning to stay stable. That is what separates the average from the elite. So train it daily. Through meditation. Through silence. Through movement. Through breath. Every breath is a bridge between emotion and awareness. When your heart races, slow it down. When your mind spins, write it out. When your body shakes, move it. Release energy. Do not explode it. That is what discipline looks like. That is what mastery feels like. You do not need to prove calm. You need to practice calm. You do not need to show control. You need to live control. Because emotional control is not a skill. It is a system. Built day by day. Choice by choice. And every choice builds identity. You are not angry. You are aware. You are not cold. You are calm. You are not detached. You are disciplined. That is who you are becoming. You have a choice. To feed your emotions, or to feed your evolution. Choose evolution. Choose calm. Choose control. Because when you stay calm, you think better. You see clearer. You act stronger. And that calm will change your life. You will stop chasing approval. You will stop explaining your peace. You will stop reacting to noise. Instead, you will start responding with purpose. You will start creating from focus. You will start living with control. That is how power feels. It feels calm. It feels clear. It feels silent. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Stay dangerous. Because real power is quiet. Real strength is controlled. And real control begins inside you. You mastered your routines. Now it is time to master your reactions. You mastered your habits. Now it is time to master your emotions. The outside world will always test your inner peace. But your job is to stay steady. Because when your inner world is calm, the outer world loses power over you. That is the key. That is the truth. That is freedom. So remember this always. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Stay dangerous. Because your emotions are not the problem. Your reactions are. control the response. And you control your world. You built rituals. You found rhythm. Now it is time to find peace inside chaos. Because silence is not emptiness. It is energy under control. You have mastered control within yourself. Now, let us master control around others. Chapter 7. Turn anger into direction. Anger is not your enemy. It is your energy, trapped inside your body, waiting for direction. Most people waste it. They shout. They break things. They hurt people. And when it is over, they feel empty. That is not power. That is weakness pretending to be power. Because real power does not explode. It channels. It focuses. It builds. You have a choice. You can let anger control you. Or you can use anger to control your destiny. That is the key. Anger is energy. Pure, raw, human energy. When someone betrays you, you feel it rise. When you fail, you feel it burn. That burning is not evil. It is not wrong. It is a signal. It says, do something. But most people never listen. They waste that signal through noise. They scream online. They blame others. They gossip. They post about revenge. But nothing changes. Because anger without direction becomes destruction. Waste anger, and you destroy yourself. Use anger, and you rebuild yourself. That is the difference between chaos and control. Between noise and power. Every great change starts with a moment of anger. A moment when someone says, enough. Enough of being ignored. Enough of being small. Enough of being used. That anger becomes the spark. But a spark means nothing without direction. When you are angry, your body is awake. Your mind is sharp. Your energy is high. This is the moment to move. Not to argue. Not to explain. But to act. Take that fire to the gym. Take that fire to your work. Take that fire to your goals. Build with it. Train with it. Focus with it. Anger is not evil. Waste is. That is the mantra. Think of a blacksmith. He uses fire to shape metal. Without control, the fire destroys everything. With control, it creates weapons, tools, strength. Your anger works the same way. When life hurts you, you can either burn down your house or build a new one with the same fire. The difference is direction. The difference is discipline. Anger, when disciplined, becomes progress. Anger, when wasted, becomes pain. You have to choose. Most people believe anger must be avoided. They are told, calm down. Be peaceful. Do not feel that way. But denying anger is like denying gravity. It will still pull you down, even if you pretend it does not exist. Anger is natural. Anger is human. But untrained anger is dangerous. You cannot suppress it. You must shape it. When you suppress anger, it turns into sadness. When you express anger without direction, it turns into regret. When you channel anger, it turns into fuel. So the rule is simple. Do not suppress. Do not explode. Direct. Here is what that looks like in real life. You wake up feeling disrespected. Someone lied to you. Someone ignored you. You feel the fire in your chest. Before you react, breathe. Before you respond, plan. Say to yourself, I will not waste this. Then move that energy into something productive. Do 10 push-ups. Go for a run. Write that page you have been avoiding. Make that call you have been delaying. Channel the emotion into motion. You will feel your body calm. You will feel your mind sharpen. That is transformation. You did not remove the anger. You redirected it. And that is real control. Understand this deeply. The world benefits when you lose control. The world loves when you react. Because a reactive person is predictable. A reactive person can be manipulated. But a directed person is dangerous. When they insult you, stay silent. When they lie about you, stay calm. When they underestimate you, stay focused. Do not show your anger. Show your results. That is how you win. That is how you dominate quietly. You do not need to prove you are angry. You need to prove you are unbreakable. Think of every legend you admire. Every great builder, leader, fighter, thinker. They all used anger. But they used it in silence. They used it in work. They turned emotion into empire. They did not react. They responded. They did not rage. They rebuilt. They did not post. They produced. That is what you must do. Turn your anger into direction. Turn your pain into purpose. Turn your emotion into energy. You have to remind yourself every day. When the world tests you, stay calm. When people betray you, stay focused. When life feels unfair, stay moving. Because anger that moves becomes growth. And anger that stays becomes poison. Say it with me. Anger is not evil. Waste is. That is the key to peace. Not silence. Not pretending. But channeling. Here is your exercise. The next time you get angry, stop talking. Stop reacting. Go quiet. Feel the energy rise in your body. Then choose one thing to build. It can be small. Clean your space. Write your plan. Lift the weight. Take action before you explode. Turn that fire into fuel. When you do this often, your brain learns something powerful. It learns that pain can be productive. It learns that anger can serve you, not destroy you. And when that happens, you become unstoppable. Because nobody can control a person who controls their own energy. Nobody can break a person who turns pain into motion. There will be people who test you. There will be people who push you. They will want to see if you react. Do not give them that power. Smile. Walk away. Build something instead. That is your revenge. That is your dominance. Silent. Focused. Consistent. You are not cold. You are controlled. You are not numb. You are disciplined. They will call you heartless. Let them. Because your calm will scare them more than your rage ever could. You have to decide, right now. Will you keep wasting your anger? Or will you start using it? Because your future depends on it. Every moment of rage is a moment you could build. Every fight you avoid is energy you could invest. Every insult you ignore becomes fuel for growth. The choice is always yours. That is the truth. That is the control. Your anger is not bad. It is your signal. It is your proof that you care. But caring must come with clarity. You cannot keep letting emotion lead. You must lead emotion. That is the skill of power. That is the art of direction. And remember, control is not suppression. It is transformation. When you learn to process emotion, you stop being a victim of it. You stop letting the world push your buttons. You become calm, consistent, and yes, dangerous. Because calm people are the most powerful. They see clearly. They move precisely. They use energy with purpose. That is who you must become. So from this moment forward, repeat it like a code. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Stay dangerous. Say it again. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Stay dangerous. That is not just a mantra. That is your new identity. You are no longer reactive. You are responsive. You are no longer angry for no reason. You are angry with direction. That direction will change your life. You have learned how to control your emotions. Now, it is time to control your focus. Because focus decides where your power flows. And distraction is the thief of every dream. You mastered your emotion. Now, let us master your attention. Chapter 8. The Quiet Confidence of Self-Trust. Confidence is not noise. Confidence is silence. It is not about shouting louder. It is about standing still when the world shakes. It is about knowing who you are, even when no one claps. It is about trusting yourself, deeply, quietly, completely. You do not need loud confidence. You need quiet certainty. That is the truth. That is the power. Most people fake confidence. They talk big. They post bigger. They act like they have it all figured out. But the moment pressure hits, they break. Why? Because their confidence was borrowed. It came from others. It came from attention. It came from validation. Real confidence cannot be borrowed. It must be built. Brick by brick. Promise by promise. Day by day. You have a choice. You can keep chasing applause. Or you can start building self-trust. That is the key. Confidence is not about saying, I can do anything. It is about saying, I will do what I said I would. That is how you build trust with yourself. Not through words. Through actions. Every time you make a promise and keep it, your mind remembers. It whispers, we can trust this person. That whisper grows. It becomes calm. It becomes certainty. That is quiet confidence. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your mind remembers that too. It whispers, we cannot trust this person. That whisper becomes doubt. It becomes fear. It becomes noise. You see the difference? Confidence is not loud. Doubt is loud. Confidence is quiet. Because it knows. You build quiet confidence by doing what you said you would do. Even when no one is watching. Even when you are tired. Even when it feels boring. You said you would wake up early. Do it. You said you would train. Train. You said you would stop complaining. Stop. You said you would build something. Build it. Each time you follow through, you prove to yourself that your word means something. And when your word means something, your life changes. Because you start to feel different. You start to walk different. You stop begging for respect, and you start earning it. Not through noise. Through consistency. You have to understand this truth. Loud people are often empty. Quiet people are often solid. Loud people need attention to feel alive. Quiet people already have proof. Their actions speak for them. Their results speak for them. That is the level you must reach. When your calm scares people more than their shouting ever could. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to explain anything. You do not need their permission. You just need to trust yourself. That is enough. But here is the problem. Most people never learn how to trust themselves. Because they keep breaking their own word. They promise, tomorrow I will start. Tomorrow comes. They delay. They say, next time I will change. Next time comes. They repeat. And then they wonder why they feel weak. Why they feel anxious. Why they need other people to validate them. It is simple. They do not trust themselves. And when you do not trust yourself, you look for someone else to believe in you. That is the trap. You have to rebuild that trust. You have to keep small promises. You have to earn your own respect. Here is how you do it. Start small. 1 promise a day. Wake up when you said you would. Drink water before you touch your phone. Finish one thing you started. These seem small. But small is powerful. Because small becomes momentum. Momentum becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. You start saying to yourself, I trust me. That is enough. Do not confuse self-trust with arrogance. Arrogance needs an audience. Self-trust needs only silence. Arrogance says, look at me. Self-trust says, I know me. Arrogance depends on attention. Self-trust depends on action. Quiet confidence is not about being better than others. It is about being better than your old self. It is about being honest with your progress. It is about doing what you said you would do, even when no one will ever know. That is what builds real power. You might ask, what if I failed before? How do I rebuild trust? You start again. You start small. You keep it real. You do not lie to yourself. You do not say, I will change everything today. You say, I will change one thing today. And you do it. That is the rebuild. You do not need perfection. You need consistency. You do not need motivation. You need discipline. Because discipline is proof. And proof builds trust. Let me be clear. Confidence is not born from praise. It is born from practice. It is born from pain. It is born from keeping your word when it hurts to keep it. When you stay consistent through discomfort, your brain learns something powerful. It learns that your emotions do not control you. Your discipline does. That is the switch. You stop needing to feel confident to act. You act, and then confidence grows. You move first. The feeling follows. That is how winners live. They act without needing permission. They act without needing to feel ready. They act because their word demands it. You have a choice every day. To believe your excuses, or to believe your actions. To trust your feelings, or to trust your discipline. When you start trusting discipline over emotion, everything changes. You stop being reactive. You stop being desperate. You stop being small. You start being grounded. You start being centered. You start being dangerous, not because you shout, but because you are steady. That is quiet confidence. The kind that does not fade when the world gets loud. Quiet confidence is built through repetition, through small wins, through private victories. You hit the gym when you feel lazy. You finish the work when you feel tired. You say no when you want to say yes. You stay calm when others lose control. Every one of those moments is a deposit into your self-trust bank. And the more you deposit, the richer you get in confidence. One day, you will wake up and realize you do not chase approval anymore. You do not beg for respect. Because you already have it. From yourself. And that is enough. Say it right now. I trust myself. Say it again. I trust myself. That is not just an affirmation. It is a reminder. It is your truth. Every time you say it, your mind hears it. Every time you act on it, your soul believes it. Every time you live it, your world changes. Confidence is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. Confidence is not about being loud. It is about being certain. You do not need to prove. You do not need to please. You just need to trust. That is enough. So next time you walk into a room, stay calm. Next time you face fear, breathe slow. Next time you fail, stand tall. Because you know something they do not. You trust yourself to rise again. You trust yourself to adapt. You trust yourself to build. That quiet confidence is rare. That quiet confidence is real power. Because it does not break when the world doubts you. It grows. You have spent years chasing confidence. But you had it inside you all along. You just needed to prove to yourself that you can be trusted. Do that daily. And you will never question your worth again. You will not need to shout. You will not need to explain. You will not need to perform. You will simply live with quiet certainty. That is power. That is peace. That is freedom. You have learned how to trust yourself. Now it is time to extend that trust into your actions, your mission, your future. Because purpose means nothing without trust behind it. You built calm. You built focus. You built self-trust. Now, it is time to turn that trust into direction. You mastered confidence. Now, let us master purpose. Chapter 9. Isolation creates clarity. Silence is not loneliness. It is strength. It is the space where truth finally speaks. It is the moment when the noise stops, and you begin to hear yourself again. Most people fear silence. They run from it. They fill it with music, with chatter, with distraction. Because silence forces them to face what they have been avoiding. It brings them face to face with who they really are. But you must understand this truth. Clarity does not come from chaos. It does not come from the crowd. It comes from the quiet. It comes from being alone with your own thoughts. You must learn to be alone without collapsing. You must learn to stand in stillness without breaking. Because silence is not emptiness. It is awareness. It is the ground where wisdom grows. When you are surrounded by people, you absorb their noise, their opinions, their energy. You begin to forget what your own voice sounds like. You begin to mistake other people's dreams for your own. That is why you must separate for a while. You must disconnect to reconnect. You must step back to see clearly. That is how clarity is born. That is how direction finds you. Clarity comes in quiet. Say it again. Clarity comes in quiet. When the noise fades, truth appears. When you stop running, wisdom arrives. You do not need constant validation. You do not need endless feedback. You do not need every person to agree with you. You need silence. You need stillness. You need the courage to face your own mind. Most people live surrounded by distractions. Their phones never stop buzzing. Their minds never stop spinning. They scroll, they refresh, they chase. But they never stop to listen. They never stop to think. You cannot build a powerful life like that. You cannot create a meaningful vision. If your mind is always reacting to noise, distraction destroys direction. Confusion kills confidence. And without confidence, there is no progress. Isolation is not punishment. It is preparation. When you isolate yourself, you create mental space. You build emotional clarity. You filter out the voices that do not matter. That is when truth rises. That is when focus returns. That is when your next step becomes clear. You have a choice. You can keep running from silence, or you can master it. You can keep drowning in noise, or you can learn to breathe in quiet. That is the key. Every powerful person you admire has learned this. They all took time alone. They all disappeared for a while. They all went into silence, so they could hear what others could not. When you are alone, you see what truly matters. You realize what is fake. You feel what is real. You recognize your values again. You remember your mission. That is why isolation creates clarity. It strips away the lies. It burns off the noise. It leaves only truth. In silence, you will meet your real self. And that meeting will change everything. Because when you finally know who you are, no one can tell you who to be. When you understand your direction, no one can confuse your path. That is why you must build a relationship with solitude. You must make silence your friend. Stop fearing it. Start trusting it. Because it will give you what the world cannot: clarity. You do not need to vanish forever. You just need moments. Moments where the phone is off. Moments where your thoughts can breathe. Moments where you can see your next move clearly. Clarity is not complicated. It just requires quiet. It requires you to stop chasing noise. It requires you to start listening to your soul. Most people never take that time. They are afraid of what they might find. But that fear is the wall between who they are and who they could be. When you enter silence, you cross that wall. You move from confusion to understanding. You move from reaction to creation. You move from chaos to clarity. You might feel lonely at first. You might feel empty. But stay there. Sit with it. Do not rush back to the noise. Because that emptiness is not the end. It is the beginning. In that space, you will find your answers. You will see why you struggled. You will see what needs to go. You will see what must grow. Isolation gives birth to transformation. It sharpens your focus. It strengthens your discipline. It clears your mind. The world will try to pull you back. People will not understand your silence. They will think you are avoiding them. They will think you are lost. But you are not lost. You are clearing the fog. You are not avoiding the world. You are preparing to face it with clarity. You are rebuilding from within. That is power. That is maturity. That is growth. Because real clarity does not come from advice. It comes from awareness. It comes from reflection. It comes from facing yourself. So, take time to be alone. Turn off the noise. Write. Think. Walk. Breathe. Listen to your own silence. When you do, something powerful happens. The world becomes slower. Your thoughts become clearer. Your energy becomes lighter. You begin to see what is truly worth your time. You realize that half the battles you fought were only because of confusion. You realize that most of your stress was because of noise. And you realize that peace was always within your reach. That is the gift of isolation. It gives you yourself back. It helps you remember what matters. It teaches you to move with purpose instead of pressure. So stop fearing solitude. Step into it with courage. Silence will not break you. It will build you. Clarity comes in quiet. Never forget that. Say it again. Clarity comes in quiet. It is not about being alone. It is about being aligned. It is not about hiding from the world. It is about returning to yourself. That is where real strength begins. When you master solitude, you master focus. When you master silence, you master clarity. And when you master clarity, you master life. You have a choice. Keep running from quiet, or learn to live within it. That is the difference between the lost and the focused. That is the difference between noise and purpose. Remember this truth. Isolation is not weakness. It is the birthplace of wisdom. It is the forge of vision. It is the foundation of clarity. You mastered your fear. Now, it is time to master your focus. You learned to be alone. Now, let us talk about the true currency of your life. Chapter 10. Stop performing strength. True strength does not need to be shown. It does not need to be loud. It does not need to prove anything. It is calm. It is quiet. It is still. The world has taught you wrong. It told you that strength means showing no weakness. It told you to smile when you are breaking. It told you to act fine when you are falling apart. But that is not strength. That is performance. And performance always drains you. You have been performing strength for too long. You keep holding it together because you think falling apart means failure. You keep pretending you are fine because you fear judgment. But that act is killing your energy. That act is stealing your peace. When you perform, you drain. When you stay authentic, you sustain. That is the truth. That is the shift. Stop acting strong. Start being real. Say it with me. I do not need to act strong. I choose to be still. Stillness is strength. Honesty is strength. Self-awareness is strength. Because when you are still, you can see clearly. When you are real, you can heal fully. When you stop pretending, you can finally grow. Most people are exhausted not because of work, but because of pretending. They are acting every day. Acting confident. Acting happy. Acting successful. Acting like they have it all together. But inside, they are tired. Inside, they are lost. Inside, they are screaming for rest. That is not power. That is pressure. That is not strength. That is survival. You do not have to live that way anymore. You can choose honesty over performance. You can choose peace over pretending. You can choose stillness over show. The world does not need your mask. It needs your truth. It needs your calm. It needs your real strength. Understand this clearly. Strength is not about resistance. It is about resilience. It is not about looking tough. It is about standing true. It is not about pretending you are fine. It is about staying steady while you heal. You do not have to prove your strength. You just have to live it. Quietly. Consistently. Calmly. You do not owe the world a performance. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself rest. You owe yourself truth. Every time you pretend to be strong for others, you weaken your relationship with yourself. Because your soul knows the truth. Your body feels the weight. And your mind keeps carrying the lie. That is why people break down. Not because life was too heavy, but because they spent too long carrying the mask. You do not need to act strong anymore. You just need to be still. Stillness allows truth to rise. Stillness allows strength to rebuild. Stillness allows healing to happen. The moment you stop performing, you begin transforming. The moment you stop pretending, you start progressing. Strength is not in control. It is in surrender. It is in saying, I am not okay, but I am trying. It is in saying, I need rest. It is in saying, I will heal at my pace. That is not weakness. That is maturity. That is self-respect. That is power. You have been taught to hide your pain. But pain is not shame. It is a signal. It tells you something needs care. It tells you something needs attention. It tells you something needs peace. If you ignore it, it grows. If you hide it, it spreads. But if you face it, you free yourself. That is why stillness matters. That is why authenticity matters. Because only in honesty can you truly recover. So stop performing strength. Stop acting brave when you are scared. Stop pretending peace when you are broken. Face your truth, and you will find your power. When you choose stillness, something changes. Your body relaxes. Your mind softens. Your heart begins to trust again. That is the healing you have been searching for. True strength is not about fighting everything. It is about accepting what is. It is about breathing through the storm. It is about knowing you will rise again. Say it again. I do not need to act strong. I choose to be still. Let those words live in your heart. Let them guide your days. Because that is real strength. When you stop performing, you conserve energy. You stop wasting it on image. You start using it for growth. You stop pretending to be unbreakable. You start building a life that cannot be broken. That is how powerful people live. They are not loud. They are not dramatic. They are grounded. They are calm. They are real. The strongest person in the room is not the one talking the most. It is the one who does not need to talk at all. It is the one who moves with quiet confidence. It is the one who is at peace with who they are. That is the power of stillness. That is the beauty of authenticity. That is what it means to stop performing strength. You have nothing to prove. You have everything to protect. Protect your peace. Protect your energy. Protect your truth. Because pretending will drain you. But truth will sustain you. Remember this mantra again. I do not need to act strong. I choose to be still. Let it echo in your mind every time you feel pressure to perform. You do not need to post your strength. You do not need to announce your healing. You do not need to convince anyone you are okay. Just be okay in silence. That is where real confidence grows. When you are still, you can think clearly. When you are still, you can act wisely. When you are still, you can feel deeply. That is strength. Stop rushing to look powerful. Start working to be peaceful. Stop trying to impress. Start trying to improve. That is the shift that changes everything. Because fake strength fades fast. But real strength lasts forever. It lasts because it comes from truth. It lasts because it does not depend on applause. It lasts because it is built in silence. You have a choice. You can keep performing for the world. Or you can start building for yourself. You can keep proving. Or you can start growing. That is the key. Real strength is silent. It is patient. It is humble. It does not need a stage. It just needs discipline. You do not need to look strong. You need to live strong. You need to rest. You need to rebuild. You need to rise quietly. Remember, performance fades. But stillness sustains. Silence protects. And truth heals. So, stop performing strength. Start becoming it. That is how you evolve. That is how you lead yourself to peace. You mastered stillness. Now, it is time to master presence. Because strength without presence is wasted power. Chapter 11. Patience is the real flex. In a world that worships speed, patience is rebellion. Everyone wants everything now. Fast money. Fast success. Fast happiness. But what comes fast, fades fast. What comes slow stays. You have been programmed to rush. You scroll. You compare. You panic. You think you are behind. You think you must catch up. But you are not behind. You are just being tested. Patience is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is control. It is the ability to wait without breaking. That is real power. That is real flex. Anyone can start fast. Few can stay steady. Anyone can talk loud. Few can move quiet. That is why patience wins. It separates the ones who last from the ones who fade. Say this again. Fast fades. Slow stays. Let those words anchor your mindset. Because if you chase fast, you chase fragile. If you build slow, you build solid. Look at nature. The tallest trees grow slow. The deepest roots take time. The strongest mountains are shaped by pressure and patience. Not speed. Not noise. Patience builds what panic destroys. You have a choice. You can live fast and burn out. Or you can build slow and rise forever. That is the key. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they are impatient. They quit before results come. They give up before the roots take hold. They expect comfort before mastery. And then they wonder why nothing lasts. You must stop chasing instant wins. Stop craving shortcuts. Stop expecting miracles without movement. Patience is the real miracle. Consistency is the real magic. Discipline is the real proof. It takes time to change. It takes time to grow. It takes time to become unshakable. That is the truth most people avoid. Because patience hurts the ego. But it heals the soul. The ego says, I want it now. The soul says, I will wait for what is real. Which voice will you follow? Because one leads to pressure. The other leads to peace. You do not need everything today. You just need direction. You just need discipline. You just need time. Give your process time. Give your growth space. Because all great things need seasons. Think about it. A seed does not bloom overnight. It first breaks underground. It grows in darkness before it reaches light. Your journey is the same. You are not failing. You are forming. Stop comparing your timeline to others. Your pace is your power. Your patience is your protection. When you rush, you lose rhythm. When you slow down, you gain strength. Fast success is sweet for a moment, but it rarely lasts. Because it lacks foundation. It lacks depth. It lacks endurance. Slow growth looks boring, but it is the kind that lasts decades. You must understand this deeply. Every great empire was built slowly. Every strong mind was shaped through patience. Every lasting legacy was born from waiting and working. So why are you rushing? Why are you comparing your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10? Stop. Focus on your own rhythm. Build quietly. Build consistently. Build slow. Fast fades. Slow stays. That is not just a phrase. It is a law of life. People want to post results, not process. But it is the process that creates the result. It is the waiting that builds the wisdom. It is the delay that builds the depth. Do not confuse delay with denial. Just because it is taking time does not mean it is not happening. It is happening in silence. It is growing in ways you cannot yet see. You just have to stay steady. You just have to keep going. Patience does not mean waiting with empty hands. It means working without obsession. It means trusting your pace. It means doing the work daily, without demanding instant reward. That is maturity. That is mastery. That is strength. Say it again. Fast fades. Slow stays. It sounds simple, but it will save your focus. Because the world is addicted to rush. They want 10x results with zero patience. They want fame without failure. They want success without sacrifice. But that world collapses fast. Because it is built on illusion. Real strength is built on repetition. Real progress is built on patience. Real peace is built on presence. You must choose to slow down. You must choose to focus long term. You must choose to play the infinite game. Ask yourself, are you chasing speed or strength? Are you chasing attention or alignment? Because those choices define your destiny. Fast people chase outcomes. Patient people chase growth. Fast people get tired. Patient people get stronger. Fast people react. Patient people respond. You have a choice every day. You can rush through life, or you can build one that lasts. Choose the one that stays. Understand this clearly. Patience is not waiting passively. It is preparing actively. It is moving slowly, but moving intentionally. It is building habits that will hold you when motivation dies. Anyone can act tough when things go right. Few can stay calm when life slows down. That is real strength. That is why patience is the real flex. You are not supposed to bloom in a day. You are supposed to evolve over time. Let that truth free you. Let it relax your heart. You are not late. You are learning. The delay is not a curse. It is protection. You are being shaped for what you asked for. You are being strengthened for what is coming. So stop fighting the wait. Start trusting it. Patience trains your spirit. It builds your focus. It sharpens your vision. It humbles your ego. It teaches you that results without roots mean nothing. The more patient you become, the stronger you get. Because patience keeps your emotions steady. It keeps your mind calm. It keeps your path clear. That is why fast people fall apart. They live in chaos. They chase everything. They end up with nothing. But the patient one builds quietly. They keep showing up. They keep improving daily. And one day, they look up and realize they have built something that will never fall. That is the reward of patience. It gives you peace while you build. It gives you purpose while you wait. It gives you pride when you finally arrive. Fast fades. Slow stays. Repeat that daily. Because that is your shield against distraction. You have a choice today. You can chase the rush. Or you can build the route. You can impress people for a week. Or you can impact the world for a lifetime. The key is patience. The flex is discipline. The proof is peace. You do not need to rush. You do not need to panic. You just need to keep showing up. Keep planting. Keep building. Keep trusting your pace. That is how greatness is made. That is how legacies are born. Remember this always. Fast success is built on luck. Lasting success is built on patience. And you are not here for luck. You are here for legacy. Say it again. Fast fades. Slow stays. You mastered stillness. Now, it is time to master consistency. Because patience is nothing without persistence. Chapter 12. Power through peace. Real power is not loud. It is not angry. It is not desperate. It is calm. It is quiet. It is grounded. It is peace. True power does not need to prove. It does not chase validation. It does not compete for attention. Because real power knows what it is. And when you know who you are, you stop needing noise. Peace is not weakness. Peace is control. Peace is mastery. It means your emotions obey you. It means your reactions serve you. It means no one outside can shake what is inside. You have a choice every day. You can fight every battle. Or you can choose which ones are worth your energy. That is the difference between chaos and clarity. That is the difference between ego and evolution. You must understand this truth. Anger is easy. Peace is discipline. Anyone can explode. Few can stay composed. That is why calm people win. Because they think when others react. They breathe when others break. They respond when others rush. You do not need to fight every storm. Some storms end when you stop feeding them. That is the secret. You master the storm by becoming still. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is doing everything with awareness. It means moving with intention. speaking with precision, acting with clarity. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest. They shout because they fear silence. They talk because they need control. But silence does not mean surrender. Silence means strength. It means you have nothing to prove. You do not need to defend your growth. You do not need to explain your peace. You do not need to prove your strength. Real strength is invisible. It shows in your presence. It shows in your patience. It shows in your peace. When you start operating from peace, life changes. You stop chasing reactions. You stop fearing opinions. You stop begging for validation. You move differently. You speak differently. You think differently. Peace is your power source. It gives you clarity when emotions try to control you. It gives you stability when the world tries to shake you. It gives you focus when chaos surrounds you. You have to protect your peace like it is treasure, because it is. Peace is the new luxury. Peace is the new wealth. Peace is the real success. You can have everything and still be poor if your mind is noisy. And you can have little and still be rich if your heart is calm. That is the truth. Stop letting other people's chaos become your concern. You are not their therapist. You are not their punching bag. You are not their savior. You are responsible for your energy. You are responsible for your state. You have a choice. You can live in reaction, or you can live in response. You can move from ego, or you can move from peace. That is the difference between surviving and leading. Power through peace is not passive. It is not weak. It is the ultimate strategy. Because peace gives you perspective. It helps you see clearly when others cannot. It helps you decide wisely when others panic. It helps you win quietly while others waste energy. When you operate from peace, your presence becomes power. People feel your calm. They sense your confidence. They trust your energy. You no longer have to demand respect. You attract it. That is the key. Peace makes you magnetic. Peace makes you unshakable. Peace makes you unstoppable. Because nothing can move you when you are centered. You have to train for peace like you train for strength. It is a skill. It is a practice. It is a choice. Start with your mornings. Start in silence. Start by breathing slowly. Start by grounding your thoughts. Do not check your phone. Do not check the noise. Check your state. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel today? What do I want to give today? Who do I want to be today? That is power. Because when you lead your energy, you lead your life. The world will keep trying to test your peace. People will push your buttons. Life will create distractions. Emotions will rise. That is normal. But your growth shows when you stay calm in chaos. Anyone can be peaceful in comfort. But peace during pressure, that is mastery. That is evolution. That is what separates the powerful from the reactive. You must practice stillness daily. Sit with your thoughts. Breathe through your emotions. Listen more. Speak less. Move slower. Act with purpose. Stillness does not mean inactivity. It means intentional activity. You act because you choose to, not because you are forced to. That is freedom. That is peace. It takes real strength to stay calm when everything feels unstable. It takes real courage to stay kind when others are cruel. It takes real discipline to stay grounded when others lose control. That is what peace teaches you. That is what makes you powerful. Remember this. You cannot fight chaos with chaos. You cannot fix anger with anger. You cannot heal noise with more noise. You heal with calm. You fix with clarity. You win with peace. You do not need to shout to be heard. You do not need to rush to arrive. You do not need to prove to matter. You are already enough. You are already capable. You are already whole. That is the moment power returns to you. When you stop chasing approval. When you stop needing applause. When you stop reacting to every attack. That is when you start leading. You become untouchable when you protect your peace. You stop taking things personally. You stop wasting energy on noise. You stop fighting battles that do not deserve your time. Peace is not about escaping the world. It is about mastering yourself in it. It is about being calm inside, while the world moves outside. It is about being still in the storm. It is about being certain when everything else is uncertain. That is power. That is mastery. That is leadership. You have come far. You have learned pain. You have learned discipline. You have learned patience. Now you must learn peace. Because peace is the final form of strength. You mastered the noise of the world. Now master the silence within. You controlled your reactions. Now control your state. You built your discipline. Now build your peace. Repeat this mantra every morning. I mastered the storm by becoming still. Let that line live inside you. Because storms will come again. But now you know what to do. You no longer run. You no longer panic. You stand firm. You stay centered. You remain still. That is how you win. That is how you rise. That is how you live with real power. True power is not about control over others. It is about control over yourself. It is about choosing peace over pressure. It is about staying calm when others lose themselves. It is about knowing your worth without noise. That is your final lesson. Peace is your weapon. Peace is your wisdom. Peace is your proof. You mastered pain. You built discipline. You earned patience. Now you embody peace. This is not the end. This is the beginning of mastery. Because once you learn to stay still in storms, no storm can ever break you again. Say it once more. I mastered the storm by becoming still. Now, carry that stillness with you, not just in silence, but in every move you make. Because peace is not a place you find. It is the person you become. And when you become peace, you become unstoppable. You become limitless. You become free. That is real power. That is the art of stillness. That is how you master the storm. By becoming still. You turned your pain into power, quietly. You learned that silence is not weakness. It is precision. It is control. It is strength refined by patience. The world screams. You do not. The world seeks attention. You build intention. The world reacts. You respond. You are no longer chasing validation. You are chasing mastery. You are no longer running from pain. You are walking through it, with purpose, with clarity, with calm fire. Do not tell them what you will become. Show them through consistency, through peace, through power that does not shout. Your pain was the beginning. Your calm is the victory. This is how you rise, quietly. Now go. Turn your pain into power. And stay silent while they wonder how.